So, Deputy Secretary Regas, how does the department intend to implement the Global Fragility Act if you just fired all of the relevant staff with the institutional knowledge and expertise to do this effectively? I want to start with the Global Fragility Act. As you know, a bipartisan landmark law that passed in 2019. This law was designed to implement many of the lessons from years of costly and unsuccessful U.S. stabilization efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan and Somalia. And it was designed to make foreign assistance more strategic and effective, something I know the Secretary has said he cares about. Congress remains very committed to this law. I just recently introduced a GFA reauthorization bill with Chair Emeritus McCall, and the House National Security Appropriations Bill just appropriated money for GFA implementation. Secretary Rubio also recently promised Senator Coons in an appropriations hearing that GFA would still be implemented at the department. However, the RIFs announced last week closed the office, the Conflict and Stabilization Operations Bureau, and fired the staff that have implemented GFA since its passage. So, Deputy Secretary Regas, how does the department intend to implement the Global Fragility Act if you just fired all of the relevant staff with the institutional knowledge and expertise to do this effectively?
So thank you for that question, Congresswoman. The functions of that office are going to be carried out at the regional bureau level, and this is something the Secretary's talked about, is empowering both our ambassadors and the regional bureaus who are charged with doing the diplomacy rather than sort of specific functional offices. So we're focusing the functional offices and empowering the regional offices to be able to carry out those diplomatic functions.
Sure. There are about 20 people who were previously dedicated to GFA implementation, who were carrying out important coordinating, monitoring, evaluation and learning, and planning functions. Exactly how will that be replaced?
So those functions are going to be done at the regional bureau. So each of the regional bureaus will take responsibility for those functions to ensure, and they're taking responsibility for foreign assistance in their regions, and the ambassadors are going to have responsibility.
I understand. But why didn't you move over anyone with any actual experience with GFA to the regional bureaus if that was your intent, instead of firing them?
So the folks, the folks who are in those offices are also working contemporaneously with people in the regional bureaus. So I don't think it's correct to say people in the regional bureaus or at posts don't understand how to carry out foreign assistance in accordance with the Global Fragility Act. So I'm very confident they're going to be able to do that going forward.
Deputy Secretary Regas, you and I both know that foreign service officers and civil servants in the regional bureaus are already stretched thin. And the idea that we are now putting on top of that significant programmatic and coordinating and monitoring and evaluation on top of their existing workload without any of the expertise or institutional knowledge from that process over the last 5 years. And remember, this bill passed when President Trump was president the first time. This is not some lefty priority. This is a bipartisan priority of Congress. Can you provide to our committee a clear plan for how the department will implement GFA, including by ensuring adequate staffing with the appropriate conflict expertise and implementation experience?
Sure. So we have hired, or we're in the process of hiring back, about 400 folks who had worked at USAID, at the regional bureaus, and at posts overseas, in addition to hiring about another 400 folks who are going to be locally employed staff who help to administer these programs. So to the extent that we, and this is something we're going to be under constant evaluation and review to ensure that our ambassadors and regional bureaus have the staff and expertise they need to be able to execute and implement on that.
So are you going to hire back any people from CSO or people who worked specifically on the GFA?
So to the extent that there are jobs so there are very prescriptive rules around how RIFs, reductions in force, have to be done in the federal government and how people can be hired back. So we'd have to make sure we are abiding by how those rules are promulgated. But if there is a need that our ambassadors or regional bureaus are demonstrating that they want or need a particular expertise, we'd be happy to consider that.
Okay, well, I will look forward to that written response from you on what the actual plan is. I will also say in the CN that we received, the reorganization CN, it said the Office of Foreign Assistance Policy was going to take on certain statutory policy. What you're telling me is that it will actually be the regional bureaus who are doing the GFA implementation. So if we could also get clarification on who actually will be responsible, bipartisan, congressionally mandated GFA implementation, please include that in your written response on the plan to implement it. Thank you. I yield back.